Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stottara Shata Shishimati Divine Grace La Isi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Ekadashi Brata Ki Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Ki Jai Srila Gauridas Pandit Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Haribol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Can you please take this away? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya narang cheva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityang bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So we're continuing reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1. And today we are reading the last verse from Chapter 1. So we'll be finishing this chapter. The verse is not on the board. You have your phones with you? 5.1.41. You don't have? I have an iPad, if somebody needs. I just will need it back for the class. Sorry, my voice is having some issues. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramaya ki jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Bhomam divyam manushangcha Bhomam divyam manushangcha Mahitvam karma yogajam Mahitvam karma yogajam Yas chakre nirai yopam yang Yas chakre nirayopamyam Purushanu jana priyaha Purushanu jana priyaha Bhomang divyang manushangcha Mahitvang karma yogajam Yas chakre nirayopamyam Purushanu jana priyaha. Anyone would like to recite? Bhomam divyang manushangcha Mahitvam karma yogajam Yas chakre nirayopamyam Purushanu jana priyaha. Word for word translation. Bhomam of the lower planets, Divyam heavenly, Manusham of human beings, Cha also, Mahitvam all opulences, Karma by fruitive activities, Yoga by mystic power, Jam born, Yaha one who, Chakre did, Niraya withheld, Alpamyam comparison or equality, Purusha of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anujana to the devotee, Priyaha most dear. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. As a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Maharaj Priyabrata considered hellish the opulences he had achieved by dint of fruitive activities and mystic powers, whether in the lower or heavenly planetary systems or in human society. Please repeat after me. As a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Maharaj Priyavrata considered hellish the opulences he had achieved by dint of fruitive activities and mystic power, whether in the lower or heavenly planetary systems or in human society. Purport. Srila Rupa Goswami has said that the position of a devotee is so super excellent that a devotee does not consider any material opulence worth having. There are different types of opulences on earth, in the heavenly planets and even in the lower planetary systems, known as Patala. A devotee, however, knows that they are all material, and consequently he is not at all interested in them. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Parang Drishtva Nivartate, sometimes yogis and jnanis voluntarily give up all material opulences to practice the system of liberation and taste spiritual bliss. However, they frequently fall down because artificial renunciation of material opulences cannot endure. One must have a superior taste in spiritual life. Then he can give up material opulence. Maharaj Priyavrata had already tasted spiritual bliss, and therefore he had no interest in any of the material achievements available in the lower, higher, or middle planetary systems. Thus enter Bhaktivedanta purports to the 5th canto, 1st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Hare Krishna. I will need it again. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tvang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanam Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatadi Shatarine Bhomam Divyam Manushang Cha Mahitvam Karma Yogajam Yaschakre nirayopamyam purushanu jana priyaha. As a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Maharaj Priyavrata considered hellish the opulences he had achieved by dint of fruitive activities and mystic power, whether in the lower or heavenly planetary systems or in human society. Hare Krishna. Verstehst du Englisch? Perfekt. Super. Verstehst du Englisch? Ja. Mittlerweile auch besser, oder? So we are continuing Bhagavatam, and today we will also briefly speak about Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami was mentioned in the purport, and today is also Srila Rupa Goswami's disappearance day. Today is also the disappearance day of Sri Gauridas Pandit. Does anyone know Sri Gauridas Pandit? Okay, so we'll read a bit and we get to know them. Today is also the start of Radha Govinda Chulan Yatra. On Sunday we have the festival, and this is a yatra which goes over a few days. And it starts today on Ekadashi day, and it ends on Monday on Purnim day. So Ekadashi, Dvadashi, Trayodashi, Chaturdasi and Purnim, 5 days Chulan Yatra. In Vrindavan, the bridge passes, they will all give pleasure to Radha Govinda by putting them on a swing and swing them, eine Schaukel. So that's one of the pastimes in the spiritual world. Please forgive me, somehow for 2 weeks now, I have a little bit problem with my voice, but I will speak about this topic today. That sometimes it's not so pleasing. Some things are not so pleasing, but still we should continue with the process. So in this verse we hear how Maharaj Priyavrata, the mentality which made him renounce his whole kingdom. So we know he was the king. He was not only some small king, he was ruling a whole Dvipa. We heard about the Dvipas now. Actually, he was ruling the whole planetary system. That's how it was. Yeah? And then he divided the planetary system into different parts. But he was not only a king, but he was a whole emperor. He would rule a vast land. But he gave it up. He had so much opulence, but he gave it up. And why? Because he considered all opulences hellish. And why? And Prabhupada, he says, Srila Rupa Goswami has said that the position of a devotee is so super excellent that a devotee does not consider any material opulence worth having. So I was thinking, what quote does Prabhupada mean by Srila Rupa Goswami? Because Srila Rupa Goswami gave many important quotes, and what I think he speaks about comes from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is also known as Nectar of Devotion. Do you remember that Bhakti has 6 characteristics? Anyone did Bhakti Shastri? You did Bhakti Shastri? No? Does anyone has heard that pure devotional service has 6 different characteristics? Does anyone remember anything? The one being you immediately all suffering will end is one. Auspiciousness will come is another. The desire for liberation will vanish. You will not have any desire for liberation anymore. In fact, in the moment in the Nectar of Devotion we are hearing about this. it attracts Krishna, and it gives you unequaled, uncomparable bliss. You heard of that? No. Anyway, these are 6 characteristics of bhakti, and one being that you get so much happiness that every other happiness is like hell. So I will just read something from what Rupa Goswami said. Bhakti is composed of a special condensed bliss. The bliss of Brahman realization accumulated by samadhi, lasting for half of Brahma's life, cannot compare to one drop of the ocean of the happiness of bhakti. And here he's giving another quote. Hari Bhakti Sudoya says, O Guru of the universe, on seeing you directly, I am situated in a pure ocean of bliss. All the happiness of impersonal Brahman is as insignificant as the water in the hoofprint of a cow. So there's different kinds of happiness in this world. We have happiness through sense gratification. We have happiness through Brahman realization, which we know is higher. But even that Brahman happiness is like insignificant compared to bhakti. And that's the philosophical understanding why devotees, they don't have any attraction or attachment to material happiness. And we have many examples of this in our tradition. We find in our books, we find in our parampara. Does anyone remember any devotees who displayed this kind of indifference towards material happiness? Can you remember some devotee? Mirabai? Can you explain how she displayed that? What's the example? How she displayed?
She was completely devoted to worshipping Krishna, and she was in material life also. But at some point she completely renounced, and she was just doing her bhakti.
So she renounced her material life. Anyone has another example of some devotee? Queen Kunti?
Yeah.
How?
Because she cannot be in. She always want to be in suffering, not in suffering, but in not a good situation. Because when she was in good situation, her contact with Krishna, it is bringing more happiness than any material pleasure.
Yeah, not only didn't she she didn't want material happiness, but she actually was asking for suffering. Yeah, nice. Any other examples? There is one famous example of Haridas Thakur. We hear it often, how Haridas Thakur, he got an offer by Maya Devi herself. Maya Devi is the personification of everything that attracts us in this material world. So whenever we see something attractive, we say often that the woman is the personification or the form of Maya. Or, for the woman, the man is the form of Maya. Because the woman feels attracted to a man, and the man feels attracted to a woman. And everything about a woman and a man for the opposite sex is just triggering the lusty desires in the heart. So Maya Devi, who creates all of this, she of course is the most attractive. She, when Haridas Thakur was chanting japa, she went to test him. You heard of this story, no? And she offered herself to him. And of course Maya Devi, taking this form of a woman, appearing before him, was certainly most attractive. More attractive than any other woman we see in this world. But what did Haridas Thakur say? he said, yes, I will enjoy with you. I will satisfy all your desires, but first let me finish my rounds. And he chanted his japa. And then through the whole night Maya Devi was waiting, but in the morning she got tired, so she left. And when she came again the next day, Haridas Thakur apologized, saying, I'm sorry that I couldn't satisfy you yesterday, but today I will satisfy you. Let me just finish my rounds again. So this went on for 2, 3, 4 days. And after, actually maybe that was the prostitute sent, because it happened twice, the same situation. Raghunath Das Goswami is another example. Raghunath Das Goswami was a very wealthy prince. He grew up in a family of kings, and he also renounced everything just to be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he became most renounced. So he didn't have any possessions anymore. He didn't strive for any sense gratification. So he's also giving that example. And Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita. He quotes Krishna, how he says this is only possible if you have this taste of bhakti. Yeah. And one question when we hear these examples that comes is, what is this taste? And how can we know how much of this taste do we have? And how do we attain this taste? So these are some questions which I thought we can speak about today. And there is one book called the Madhurya Kadambini, where there is quite an elaborate discussion about taste. Madhurya Kadambini describes different stages of bhakti. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. You heard of that? Yes. And Ruchi means taste. And here, I'm reading to you one verse. I think it comes from there. Yeah, it comes from there, which describes how there is two kinds of taste. Please listen, if you can. Ruchi is of two types. Vastu Vaishishtya Pekshini, which depends on excellence of details, and Vastu Vaishishtya Napekshini, which does not. Probably you don't, this is not understandable yet, but here he explains. Vastu Vaishishtya refers to excellence of such details as sweet melodies, proper quality, ornate language, and proper pronunciation, while describing the topics related to the Lord's name, qualities, and pastimes. While serving the Lord, Ruchi depends on place, time, implements, and other paraphernalia befitting one's mood of serving. While serving the Lord, if one's Ruchi depends on the excellence of such qualities befitting one's fancy, then such Ruchi is known as Vastu Vaishishtya Bhikshini. If a person ready to eat food asks about the variety and quality of the preparations, then it suggests a weak appetite. Very nice example. So basically he sums up the whole, that category of Ruchi by giving you an example. If you ask, let's say somebody asks you, do you want to take lunch? And you ask, what is there? And then he will say, is there any paneer sabji? Is there any halava? Is there any shrikant? And if you hear, oh no, there's only dal and rice and some papadam, then you say, oh no, I don't eat. And he says, that means you don't have hunger. But if you're hungry and somebody asks you, would you like to take lunch? You will not ask, what is there, right? You will just, okay, I will eat. Whatever you give me, I will eat. In a similar way, we as devotees, sometimes we like to go to Srimad Bhagavatam class if there is a big speaker. He says very explicitly here, ornate language and proper pronunciation. No, sometimes we see devotees who have very good pronunciation or who can very eloquently speak. Many devotees will come, and if some other devotee who might have a strange voice like me today, or who doesn't have so much eloquence or such a nice pronunciation, then less devotees will come. You get the point? So the reason is because externally, whatever is done, kirtan is another example. When Madhava Prabhu comes, the temple room is full. When somebody else sings, there's just a few people. Why? Because Madhava has a very attractive voice, and of course a lot of bhakti. Not only a good voice, but it sounds good musically. So then many people will come. And this kind of ruchi is called Vastu Vaishishtya Pekshini Ruchi. Krishna Prema Prabhu should give this class because he's giving a seminar about Madhurya Kadambini. And so this is one kind of taste. And then the other taste, thus if ruchi depends on excellence of such details as sweet melodies of kirtan and so on, then one should also consider this as indicating a trace of impurity in the heart, dosha bhas. A person with the second type of ruchi feels great pleasure even from the beginning of chanting the Lord's name, qualities, pastimes and other devotional practices. If excellence of details is present, such ruchi becomes very joyful and ecstatic. Not even the slightest trace of impurity exists in the heart of a person with this ruchi. There is so we spoke about this first type of ruchi when everything is very nice. Or we also can experience that in our service. Let's say I'm having the service of giving a class, and if it's a Sunday feast class, there's many people, then I'm all of a sudden very inspired to prepare myself to give a very good class. But if there is only 5 devotees during the week, actually I feel almost like it's a burden. Why? Because I'm depending on the external circumstances. Or a pujari who's doing arati. If on the festival you do the arati and there's many people, then I'm very inspired to do the arati. But if it's on a Monday, Raja Bhoga arati, nobody's in the temple room, and somebody asks me to do the arati, I will say, I don't have time, sorry. So this is, we can see. And why is it described in these books? Because we have to examine ourselves internally. Because we have to develop the right kind of taste. Krishna Prema Prabhu, I guess that's the reason why he describes that, because we have to know how to develop the proper kind of taste, right? And I think it's a very big topic in ISKCON, in our time and age also, where there is so much offer. Online sanghas, online classes, or even different programs, different retreats, different kirtan melas. And one can take full advantage of all this program, but one can always do it in the first kind of ruchi. Always just going where there is everything nice externally. And not developing and cultivating the real ruchi, which doesn't depend on external circumstances. So it's very important that we speak about it, we understand the difference, so we can evaluate ourselves. We can evaluate ourselves, and we can also maybe be more conscious about externally. If we understand that real taste maybe has different kinds of symptoms than somebody who is just always very ecstatically at the festivals dancing. Maybe it has different symptoms. And there's a nice story. I think I also heard it for the first time from Krishna Premarupa Prabhu, and maybe Gogovinda Swami tells this story, how one time there was some katha going on in a village for many days. Some devotee was speaking Krishna katha, and you know, in India, maybe you grew up in a village, Rashmi? No. Then you probably not experienced that so much, but in the villages till now sometimes they have katha and all the villagers will come together. And in that village, when this person was giving katha for many days also, the villagers came, and there was one person, when sitting in the katha, that person was crying. And you know, the people who were there were thinking, wow, there must be a very elevated soul who is crying out of emotion, hearing about Krishna and his activities and pastimes. So this was going on for a few days, and all the devotees who attended that, they really developed a lot of respect for that person. And then after some days, I think the katha was over, then somebody went to that person and asked, my God, you're such an elevated person. I saw that you were constantly crying during the katha. Can you tell me what's happening in your heart when you hear Krishna katha? And that person said, you know, when I was sitting in that class and I saw the speaker, and the speaker, I saw a small beard, it constantly reminded me of my goat that passed away the other day. And I just had to cry constantly. So you can see that externally it looked like, oh, here is a person, he's going to the katha, he's shedding tears. Wow, this person has a lot of emotion, a lot of taste. But actually it was not the case. It was just some other reason why that person cried. There's one nice example of a person who cried, but it was real ruchi, real taste, real emotion, and that is a Brahmana from South India who, when Mahaprabhu was traveling there, he came to a place, I think it was Madurai, and there was one Brahmana, he was sitting there constantly, and he was reading Bhagavad Gita. But he was holding the Bhagavad Gita upside down, but he was crying, and all the Brahmanas would make fun of him. You know, he cannot read, but he's just making a show. Obviously he cannot read, he's holding the book upside down, and he's crying all the time. So he's some sentimental person, stupid person, cannot really read the books. And then Mahaprabhu got curious to know, who is this person? And he went to that Brahmana and he asked him, what are you doing? And this Brahmana told him, my spiritual master told me to study Bhagavad Gita. And even though I'm illiterate, I cannot read, still, because my Guru Dev, he told me, I'm trying my best. And whenever I take the book in my hand and I try to understand, all I can see is how Krishna becomes the charioteer of Arjuna, how Krishna becomes the devotee of his devotee. And I cannot stop but cry, because I'm so touched. And what did Mahaprabhu say? Mahaprabhu said, he's actually the real Brahmana, the real scholar. He's the real student of Bhagavad Gita. He understands Bhagavad Gita properly. And this brings me to that point which is important for us. How can we develop the taste? Why did he have this taste? Why did he develop such deep attraction to Krishna? Because he followed his Guru's instruction faithfully. No, usually, let's say I tell you, what can I tell you? Can you cook? You're a cook. Good cook? Can you cook? You cannot cook. I have to take this example. Let's say I tell you, you go now and cook Raj Bhoga feast today. You will tell me, I cannot cook. I cannot do it. So the Brahmana could have also said, I cannot read, Gurudev. Why are you giving me this instruction? But he was so faithful that even he had some disqualification externally, he did it. He had full faith in his Guru's instruction. And what was the result? He couldn't read still, but he got bhakti. He got the revelation of Krishna. And for this I would like to quote one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam which actually makes this point. Why the connection with the spiritual master is giving us this qualification to develop taste. And this is a very, very important and famous verse. Shushusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. And now comes the important point. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. We need this taste, we hear that in this verse. If we don't have this taste of Krishna consciousness, then we'll always be attracted to material happiness. And we as devotees, we try to cultivate the taste, but it has to be done in the right way. And here it's said very explicitly that you get taste if you serve a pure devotee. And I would like to ask you, Prabhupada explains it in the purport, why does it give taste if we serve the pure devotees? What's the... there must be some reason behind. And we have a nice example in Bhagavatam how Narada Muni, he was serving the pure devotees, the Bhakti Vedantas. And then he developed attraction to Krishna. By hearing from them, by serving them, by taking prasadam from them. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. But what is how does it work? Any ideas? What's the scientific explanation? Why this will give you taste? Yeah, Dino? Okay. So he's more advanced than us. But how does this change you? Because you all of a sudden get a taste. Okay, I'm going to read it to you. Prabhupada, in the very last sentence, second last sentence, he says, by serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, and thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of God. Prabhupada gives this example how when you put iron rod into the fire, the iron rod becomes fire. No, even though it's an iron rod, but it becomes so hot that it's like fire. And in a similar way, if we associate with pure devotees, then we get the qualities of the pure devotees. And by having the qualities of the pure devotees, we can associate with Krishna. Only fire can associate with fire without being burnt. And only one who has the qualities of the internal potency, the spiritual potency, only he can associate with Krishna. But we cannot associate with Krishna in this world if we are conditioned. Only the pure devotee can bring that spiritual potency into this world. That's why he is so important. We cannot directly jump to Krishna, but we have to go to that person who is connected to Krishna. And by doing that, we will become qualified to go. And then Prabhupada writes here as a last sentence, the eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. Which is another very weighty statement, that if we want to examine how much taste do I have, then the taste of hearing about Krishna will show us how much taste we actually have. And of course, on a secondary note, we can see, do I have taste if His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj gives the class only, or do I have taste whoever speaks? So these are some thoughts about this whole topic of why taste, developing spiritual taste is important, what is actual taste, and how to develop it. And I would just like to use the remaining time to read briefly about these personalities who we're celebrating the Disappearance Day today. Oops. That's very strange. Okay. I guess I know Rupa Goswami a bit, so I can speak about him. Srila Rupa Goswami's disappearance day today. Srila Rupa Goswami is one of the disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we are called the Rupa Nugas. We are the followers of Rupa Goswami. So he's the most prominent acharya right after Mahaprabhu, and we are all following him. We also pray Namo Mahavadan. We pray Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. How Rupa Goswami, even though Mahaprabhu came, he gave us the gift of Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami was actually the one who made it available to us by giving us the foundation, the philosophy, the teachings, the practice. He's a great scholar. He wrote many books, like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is quoted in the beginning. And he also displayed this quality of being indifferent to material opulence. He was a great minister. He had a big position in the government. He had a lot of wealth, but he just left everything. And he went to Vrindavan and lived in a forest. He didn't have a home, he didn't have any money, he didn't have any clothes even, he just had one quilt. So Rupa Goswami is an example of somebody who really has taste, and of course that's no wonder because he's a spiritual personality like we are, but he knew it all the while. He's Nitya Siddha, he never forgot about his spiritual identity, and he was always internally absorbed in the relationship with Krishna. And that is the secret to success, that one really becomes Krishna conscious to the highest extent of when I hear about Krishna, I immediately, when we speak about real ruchi, or let's call it fake ruchi, why is it that that person who has real ruchi doesn't depend who is speaking? And I would like to tell one story by Gorkishore Das Babaji, who once he was on a boat in Navadvip, and on the boat there was one boatman, I think, or maybe another person, I don't recall exactly, and that person was singing a song, some song about Radha Krishna, but he was obviously, he was not really a pure devotee. He was but in India it's common, no, you sing some religious songs. And he was singing this song, and obviously he was not a qualified speaker, you could say. And Gorkishore Das Babaji heard that song, and he got very absorbed. And then he told him that for you this song might just be some musical entertainment, but if I hear this song it breaks my heart. And that it shows that for a pure devotee, whenever he hears about Krishna, because he has a relationship in his heart, it immediately triggers his emotions. So it doesn't matter if somebody who just heard about Krishna will speak about Krishna. That will also, it will remind him about his relationship with Krishna. It doesn't matter who speaks, because taste comes internally by having a very deep, profound, loving exchange with the Lord. And for the other class, which often we belong in, when it's external ruchi, because we don't have this relationship yet, it has to be told in a very nice way, it has to sound very nicely. And Rupa Goswami, it didn't matter for him if he was sitting in Vrindavan in summer when there was 50 degrees, in the hot sun, no water, no food. He was always internally absorbed. He could always remember Krishna. And we should aspire for this. We should really try to understand our relationship with Krishna. Yes, I'm not sure if we should do this maybe quickly. Gauridas Pandit. So Rupa Goswami, you probably know him quite well. But we could see in the beginning that Gauridas Pandit is not so well known. So let's just read a few sentences about him. Gauridas Pandit is one of the most important sub-branches of the Nityananda branch of the Chaitanya tree of Bhakti. Of this particular sub-branch of Nityananda, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has written, Gauridas Pandit, the emblem of the most elevated devotional service and love of Godhead, had the greatest potency to receive and deliver such love. Making Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda the lords of his life, Gauridas Pandit sacrificed everything for the service of Lord Nityananda, even the fellowship of his family. Regarding Gauradas Pandit, Bhaktivedanta Swami translates the comment of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as follows. It is said that Gauridas Pandit was always patronized by King Krishnadas, the son of Harihoda. Gauridas Pandit lived in the village of Shaligram, which is situated a few miles from the railway station Muragacha, and later he came to reside in Ambika Kalna. It is stated in the Gaura Ganodesha Dipika verse 128 that formerly he was Subal, one of the Kaur boyfriends of Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan. Gauridas Pandit was the younger brother of Suryadas Sarakela and with the permission of his elder brother, he shifted his residence not to the bank of the Ganges, living there in the town known as Ambika Kalna. The eldest son of Gauridas Pandit was known as Big Balaram, and the youngest was known as Raghunath. The village Ambika Kalna, which is situated just across the river Ganges from Shantipur, is 2 miles east of the Kalakanorta railway station on the Eastern Railway. Yeah, there's a lot to say, and time is over. But this temple of Gauridas Pandit is still in Ambika Kalna, and this is a very special temple. Have you been, Krishna Prabhupada? Gauridas Pandit, there was a pastime. I just tried whatever I can recall of how he had 2 deities of Chaitanya Nityananda, and I think they were given him by the Lord, and then he was somehow not so happy about only having deities. Then Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, they took the form of the deities, and the deities became Chaitanya Nityananda, and this went back and forth, and in the end nobody could understand, are the deities who are the deities and who is Chaitanya Nityananda. Sorry, I don't really remember all the details, but somehow these deities, he was very afraid, Gauridas Pandit, that the deities will leave him and walk down from the altar. And so he stopped giving long darshans. Yeah, because when sometimes he gave darshan, then when they become too attracted to some person, they would just go down from the altar. And he became very afraid of this, so he decided he will only give very quick darshan. And even if you go to this temple now, they will only quickly open the curtain and close again. Because Gauridas Pandit was so afraid, and even the pujaris today, they are afraid that the deities will walk down from the altar. So they give quick darshan and close. Obviously Gauridas Pandit is a pure devotee, Nitya Siddha. Subal in the spiritual world, a cowherd boy. So naturally that kind of devotion they display is very different from how we worship the deities. So not to be imitated. Thank you so much for your attention. So we can end here, and Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. And tomorrow Krishna Prema Prabhu will start a new chapter. We will hear about the new king.
We think that taste is luxury or comes very late in very advanced. But actually taste is very much required, because if you don't have taste you will fall back to mundane sensitivity. So always have some taste. So it tastes more.
Yeah, the this. The case wo wir haben uns opulente Personen haben, wo wir da mit guten Sprecher, guten Kenntnis ist alles so wichtig für uns.
Nachfluss machen.
Ja, das ist schön.
one thing. They're purple juice.
The juice of the